Hey guys, and welcome to Devlog number 11. So the main update for this week is that I've finished or 95% done on the loading and saving system. So if we jump straight into Unity, I'll show you what I've done and I'll show you the little 5% that still needs to be done. So here within the arcade mode you can see we have save slots, although none of them are set currently because they have the plus icon on. So we can click on one and enter our name to set up the save, and then that will let us go through to where we can play the levels. Doing so also allows us to access the options for that save located as the 3-dot button in the top right of the save. And these options give you the ability to rename the save, to move it to a different save slot, or to delete the save, and then also close the options menu. So as an example here, I'll move this over to save slot number 2 and you'll see it just shifts it across and save slot 1 completely gets removed. So this works through swapping the two data sets. It doesn't override the data you're moving it to. The only way to delete data would be to either delete the file on the outside and reload the game, or to use the options here and hit delete in the options, and that will also delete the file. So with regards to the 5% that still needs to be done, currently it saves as the save slot number.save, as you can see in the files, and I potentially in the future want to make it so you can customize that save name, or it will just save as the player name.save. Although currently that's kind of on the back burner because it's not super necessary and you still get all the same functionality without that, so not a huge problem, but I'm going to look into it in the future. Now to quickly show you these saves work, I'll jump into one of the levels on one of the saves, complete the level, and I'll show you that it doesn't record the time across all the levels, it just records it on that one save. So now that we've run a level time, if we switch back and go to the other save, you'll see that the levels unlocked isn't 2 because it doesn't think you've completed the first level, and 2, the time for the first level is still set to 0. So that's exactly how it should be. If we jump back, you'll see if I move the saves around and then go into them again, it moves the times and moves the number of levels unlocked as well. So this save system fully works. Another quick thing as well, if we stop the game, restart the game, you'll see it reloads however we last left it. So I've baked in the saves to when you're hitting the buttons to move them around, or when you hit back, or when you complete the level, it resaves all the data then. You don't have to manually save anything. And this is also pretty expandable. I could instead make this into a big list and have 20 save slots and it would all still work. So now going into the code for all of this, it really got pretty messy and spaghetti-like towards the end, to be completely honest, with all the different systems that are connecting and passing data around. So for this, I think I'm gonna just pull up all the scripts and give you a generalized overview of how each one works, but not go into barely any specifics. If you want a more in-depth look into it, I can be sure to make a tutorial video on it. Just leave a comment down below and I can get to that, but for now I'm just going to give a brief overview of it. Okay, so here in Visual Studio I have most of the scripts up here that I'm using for the save system. So here firstly we have a script called player data, and this is just used to store all of the actual save data for that single player. It also has numerous different methods that you need to use. So set save number here is used to set the current save of stored variables so it knows which data to pull from. When you actually click on the player, it knows which times to load and how many levels you've unlocked. We also have save player data, and that will save this specific player data to the file, so just update the save essentially. Next we have wipe, and this will completely wipe the whole save. It resets all the variables here, it sets the name to null, and it actually deletes the save file. And then just below this we have delete file, and that just deletes the file but doesn't wipe the currently loaded player stats, so that's just occasionally used as well. So moving into the next one, this is save player data, and this is the serializable script that is used almost as a constructor to tell the save system what to save. So here we have the player name, obviously that needs to be saved, the levels unlocked needs to be saved, and the array of times needs to be saved, and then it just sets player name is equal to the player data.name, levels unlocked is equal to player data.levels unlocked, and then it does a loop to save all the different times. So the save settings script is just used to save the settings values. So here it's just key set, so it's just a constructor and it just saves all the different keys, so that's pretty simple. And I'm pretty sure I went over this one last time. So assign new save slot is just used to assign the new save slot that you want to move your current save slot to So if we jump into Unity quickly, you'll see here the 6 buttons each have one, and they're assigned a different number, and then when you click the one you want to move it to, it tells the save manager where to move your file. So now onto the save manager file. Now this mostly controls the saving and loading of data within the game. So going over the variables real quick, we obviously have stored variables, we have a path on where to save the settings data, but we also have another save path on where specifically to save the individual player saves, though this will change depending on which slot you're using to save. And then we also have input save move and output save move, and the input is the one you want to move and output is where you're moving to, so this is only to do with that option to move the save slots around. So getting into the methods here, of course we have start, and it finds the stored variable script, and then it gets player data object, so that just loads in all the different save files and it assigns the different save files to the different player datas, and then it updates levels and time, and that will load all of that data that it's just assigned, and if you had just finished a level, it will also update that piece of data that the new time or the new levels unlocked as well. So this script only runs whilst on the menu, so every time you finish a level and reload back to the menus, it updates all of these settings, and that's why it's in the start here, although it's using the stored variables scripts and methods. So moving down the list here, we have save the data, which just saves the settings. We have load the data, which loads up the settings. We have load player saves, and that loads all the different player saves, and it does a loop and runs through all 6 of them. We have save the current save, and that just saves the one specific save. And then we have swap saves down the bottom, and that swaps the 2 saves how I mentioned it earlier. It swaps the 2 different save files, saves it, and then swaps them back and then reloads it. And you can also see down the bottom here, if one of them's empty, so like you're moving to one that's empty, it'll delete the one that you just left because it won't be swapping one back. Okay, so moving on to save slot controller. This really is a bit of a mess in here, but it does a whole lot. It controls a lot of the menus that pop up. It determines if there's a save actually in the slot, and if there is, then it will show the player name and the options button, but if there isn't, it will just show the plus. It also controls the options when you open the options menu and all the different fields within the options there. It's also pretty good at controlling this field that I called just a game object called block, and that is a raycast target, and it just gets slipped in between, so you can't click on stuff in the background whilst whatever's popped up is there. So if we jump into Unity here, you'll see when it pops up with an option like to set a name, you can't click on the background. Different saves and mess up what's going on currently. So firstly, within the methods we have load save, and this just checks if a player name's been set. If it has, then it will just take you through to the level select screen and load the level select data. If it hasn't, then it will pop up there, enter the name screen. So that's pretty simple. Name set just makes sure that when you have entered text into that input field, that it gets saved as the player name and then saves that as the file. If you don't put in any text and you click off it, then it will close that and nothing will happen. Deselect just closes that enter name field. Options menu open close, so this, when you click on the options menu, it opens it, and when you click close, it closes it. It just alternates between the two, and that's that little menu to the right when a player has save data, but not when a save isn't set. And then the last 4 are all to do with that options menu. So we have rename, and that just opens up the name menu and lets you rename your character. We have wipe, that will delete the character data and the file. We have move save, and that opens up the move save menu, and then close move save closes the move save menu. So lastly here we have the save system script, and this does the actual saving and loading of the actual data. So here, I showed this last week, but save data will just save the save settings data, load data will load the save settings data, and then I created 2 new ones, save player data and load player data, and they do the thing that you'd expect them to do. They save the player data and they load the player data from each of those player save files that I showed before. So that's essentially that. And then lastly, just to point out that I've been working on all of these different sprites within the game, and like these wooden panels and all the different pop-ups. They've been done this week as well, and I've also been making backgrounds to go behind the wooden panels here, and that might change depending on whichever screen you're on. So I'll show you them off more next week and hopefully have them implemented for the next episode. So that just about wraps up this episode. Please be sure to subscribe. We're almost at 25 subs and it'll be great if we can get that this week. And be sure to leave a comment down below if you want me to go over the save system more in depth in a later video or potentially do a tutorial on it. And I'll catch you next time.